Hi there, welcome to today's workplace series. Today, we're talking about influence. Now, when you think about influence, do you see it as something that's personality driven? Is it something that you're born with, which means you've either got it or you don't have it? Do you see influence as something that's good or not so good? Do you perhaps see it as Machiavellian? It's interesting with the concept of influence because I hear lots of people think about influence in different contexts. When I think about influence at work, to me, it's a skill. The great thing, as a skill, it means it is something that you can learn, that you can get better at. And I'm a case in point because influence is absolutely something that I learned throughout my career. Influence, of course, can be used for not so good purposes. The challenge with that, though, is that's the very short-term approach. When I think about influence in a workplace context, I think about it as this is a tool, a skill that you can use to kind of balance the scales a bit. So it's just not that charismatic extrovert or the person with power who gets heard. Being able to influence is an essential leadership skill. Helps you get heard, helps you make progress, helps you get initiatives across the line. And it's a force for good when you use it to help elevate progress, good progress in your organisation and with your team. Leaders who influence well strive to serve that greater good, and they also do many things differently. What I'm going to do now is share with you the 10 things that influential leaders do differently. And they do this in a way that they're using those influential leadership skills to create a positive work environment. Firstly, they take the long-term view with relationships. They're not going to sacrifice a relationship for a short-term self-serving gain. Next, they treat everyone that they work with respect. They know that every interaction they have with someone, it matters because everybody wants to feel valued. Number 3, they're not afraid to take a stand and to speak up on those things that really matter to them. And speaking up not just for their own gain, but also for other people as well. Number 4, they take the time to listen, really listen, deeply listen, and ensure that the person that they're talking with feels fully heard when they're raising an issue, raising a concern, putting forward a perspective. Number 5, they welcome different thoughts, ideas, opinions, because they know that they don't have all the answers. Next, they're not afraid to hire people smarter than them. They know that to get that awesome team, to build a team that can influence both individually and collectively, they need people around them who think differently and who will challenge them. That also then means they're willing to admit when they make a mistake. They appreciate that it's only through understanding what are the learnings, how did that mistake arise, why has it happened, that real change can occur. Number 8, they acknowledge the efforts of others. They don't take the glory for themselves or successes that actually aren't theirs to claim or theirs alone. They know that they can't influence alone. Number 9, they understand themselves, what makes themselves tick, what triggers unhealthy or negative thoughts and behaviours, and they then know how to kind of regulate and moderate that behaviour. And lastly, they know how to stand out without, and this is hard, without making everything all about them. So that's the 10 things that influential people do differently. And as I was saying before, influence is a skill. So there's skills that underpin all of this. Because if you want to get traction, if you want to be more influential at work, you need to be able to master these skills. Firstly, understand yourself. It's interesting. Often when people think about influence, they think about the other person. But it's impossible to influence others if you don't understand yourself. The mindset that you're applying to work, to relationships. What are the assumptions that underpin how you see the world and how you're showing up? Number 2, you take the time to understand others. And there's a learning in all of this all the time, because when you take the time to understand what intrinsically and extrinsically motivates those around you, you'll get better insights into how to then work with them and encourage them to actually work together to secure those common goals. Number 3, work to understand the system in which you're working. All organisations are systems. There's dependencies, connections. Those connections and dependencies impact how decisions are made, or the decisions that aren't made. You need to be able to understand that system so you know how to navigate your way through. And that way, you can sometimes find that back door that you need to be able to open to be able to get something done. Number 4, really work and understand yourself so that you can maintain your integrity. Who are you? What do you stand for? You want to seek to play that better game in discussions and advocate positions that aren't self-serving. And that means you really need to know, what is it that you stand for? What does integrity look like, feel like for you? And where are those times that you're going to be challenged? Next, get busy on purpose. Influential people get things done. So be deliberate about how you use your time. Think about the tools and techniques that you need to master so that you can be more effective in the work that you get done and also in how you make decisions. Next, play the long game. Seek to secure long-term constructive relationships which are mutually beneficial. One-sided relationships where it's all about you, well, they don't last very long. The person on the other side is going to eventually walk away. So you need to understand and spend time analysing your network. What's the depth and breadth of those relationships that you have? And so part of this is you design your network. You're really conscious about how you nurture it, how you spend time with people. How do you give into that network? And be generous before you ask your network to give you something in return. Lead consciously. What's your leadership style? Sure, you want to be an influential leader who gets things done, but what does that mean in terms of how you're connecting with your team and how you're leading and how your team is seeing that leadership? Because your leadership, it's constantly on display. Next, building those communication skills, because it's not just about how much you talk, but what you say that matters and when you say it. You want to be able to ground your messages in reality. Ground your messages in a way that the people that you're talking with can connect with. Keep it simple. Be empathic, authentic, transparent. Crafting that communication skills takes time, takes practice. Lastly, one of the last skill sets that you need in your influential little tool bag, knowing how to negotiate and negotiate wisely. Because when you're striving to secure good outcomes, you need to understand how to negotiate and what that looks like. And that means going for an outcome where both parties walk away with their dignity intact and feeling like they've achieved something. Because if you screw someone over to win an outcome, well, next time, and there's always going to be a next time, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember how they were treated, and it's going to be far harder to achieve an outcome next time. So the question for you is, when you think about how you turn up at work, when you think about how you influence, what are you good at? Where are the gaps? What does that look like for you? Where do you need to start to elevate your skills and build your influential toolkit? If you need help, get in touch. Let's have a chat. Take care. Have a great week.